100% Wild podcast is brought to you by OnX Hunt, the nation's #1 GPS hunting app. Download today in the Google Play and App Store.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast. I'm your co-host Tim Chelsvik, joined by Mr. Matt Drury.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited because we got part 2 today with Rob Keck, and I just mentioned off air, I feel like we could go on and on with him. The poor guy, he's only got so much time, so we're going to try to squeeze another podcast in real quick with him. Wealth of knowledge, probably needs no introduction, but Tim, why don't you introduce our next guest?
Yeah, so we have Mr. Rob Keck from Bass Pro Shops. He is probably the most notable conservationist, accomplished hunter that we've had on. And I have to ask you this, Rob, right out of the gates. You were on TNN back in the 90s, and I wonder, did you ever meet Shotgun Red?
Actually, I did. I had Shotgun Red actually come to the NWTF convention. Let me tell you a little bit about TNN and NWTF turkey call breaking into television. I tried, I don't know how many times, to pitch the idea that there's a following out there in the outdoor world for a turkey show. And those guys they didn't want to hear it. And I kept badgering them. And finally they said, okay, we will give you a shot. But what they didn't want to do was to do it in first and second quarter, because up until that time, fishing made up the entire programming of TNN and ESPN2 in first and second quarter. There was not a hunting show. And they said, okay, we'll put you in what we call the death slot, Saturday morning at 8:30. If you get any kind of ratings at all, we'll keep you on. What they didn't realize was that hunters didn't have anything else to listen to or to watch on outdoor television. So guess what? After the first year, we went to prime time. And, that was sort of the pioneering of hunting coming into first and second quarter on outdoor television. So I feel like a pioneer, having broken the glass, broken the ice to get all of us, on television year round. And Shotgun Red, he was a lot of fun. He came to our conventions. We had him on stage, I don't know how many times. And, those TNN days were a lot of fun. It was a much smaller family. Outdoor television, of course, had just a limited number of producers. And we got to spend a lot of time with all the stars and celebrities on TNN, Crook and Chase, and, all those kind of shows we got to appear on. And it was a lot of fun.
I grew up on TNN and I think Video Morning with Katie and Al, and oh my gosh, and Shotgun Red.
We didn't have cable. Dad was too tight, I guess. Really? I don't know. No, I think we were in too much of a rural area. We didn't have we didn't have anything. Literally had about 3 channels. So, yeah.
But I'm even going to back up further. This is before TNN, or before outdoor programming was there. I did the Mike Douglas show the night that Ronald Reagan was elected president.
No kidding.
Oh, wow.
I did it with Bob Hope, Ernest Borgnine, and Hank. And one of my favorite pictures is with Hank and I. We were on stage. It was a Thanksgiving show. Mm-hmm. And when we were backstage, they had this domestic turkey, big old fat, dumb domestic turkey, stayed in full spread all the time. You could make any noise and the turkey would gobble. Well, at the end of the show, I brought out, I had Neil Koss make these long boxes, box calls, and I gave one to each one of the guests, Bob Hope, Borgnine, all of them out there, and Hank. And then I had the audience, I had them owl hoot, I gobbled, and then they called, the guests called. And we had a big time with that. And then the second part of that, they brought this big old turkey out, and Hank and I went over to the turkey to try to make him gobble. Well, as much as he gobbled beforehand, it was just the opposite now. He would not gobble at all.
Sure.
We would call, and that turkey, all he would do was strut, drum, and poop all over that stuff. And it was wild. It was wild. And, the people at Wild Turkey Bourbon actually lined that up for us, and then made a lot of other appearances on Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show, The John Davidson Show. And so we really gave a lot of national exposure to a broad audience about turkey calling back then. A lot of people don't even realize that today.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I know back in the day, like, the winners of the big, calling contests would end up on like Letterman or something like that. We've come a long way since then. And I couldn't imagine, you don't see that very often anymore where we get that kind of like prime time spotlight as hunters.
Yeah. We've fallen out of the mainstream. I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I'm not at NWTF anymore.
That's right. That's right. That's a good point. That's we talked about in the last podcast, but how many years were you there? Was it close to 30 years or so? You were at NWT?
30 years, 27 as the CEO.
Wow. It's incredible. So Rob's done as much, if not more, for the wild turkey than just about anybody in modern day society. So we have him to thank for the crazy passion that we have and the obsession that we have.
Yeah.
Well, I want to share that though. The restoration, certainly we had a big hand in leading the way, but there are many, many partners, and I don't want to discount them at all. Our state fish and wildlife agencies, we were very proud to partner with. We had a lot of volunteers, members of the NWTF that sat on bait sites and assisted with, boxing up those turkeys and help moving them as the biologists then would take, and we'd send them to other states or even other countries. And it was quite an amazing feat that so many people had a part in. I was just fortunate to be able to be the quarterback on all that stuff.
Man. So many stories.
Yeah. So before we get into the question of the day, I know you got limited time, but that is something that kind of fascinates me. And you don't hear a lot, like say, I'm 38 and I'd say my age range and younger may not know kind of the history. They kind of probably take it for granted how many wild turkeys we have now and may not know just kind of the backstory of what the NWTF really did. So, in a quick synopsis, how did they go about trapping those birds and moving them to the different location? Was there like a certain area that they were transporting them from, or was it all over the place? What kind of give us a backstory there?
Well, first of all, every state had their own program, and every state was at a different level. When I started the Federation, Missouri had a lot of their restoration done. North Missouri was just beginning to happen. We helped that a lot. Florida was just about completed. And so as Missouri completed their restoration, they were really the seed source for a number of other states that got turkeys. In fact, when you look at the province of Ontario, we had 8 different states that gave turkeys to that. And of course, they have spread all across there. And turkeys we put in Maine have gone up in Nova Scotia. But there were all kinds of deals that were made. Sometimes there were trades. State like Ohio would trade somebody for river otters. And in other places, I think Pennsylvania wanted pheasants for trading out turkeys. And, and some of them were just outright gifts. And I hate to use the word broker it, but we did. We were in a position where we knew who had turkeys. We knew who needed turkeys. I started the Federation. There were only 30 states that had spring turkey seasons. And I looked at states like Delaware that had 0 turkeys at all. And we worked with a number of agencies that contributed. New York, for example, Missouri, Pennsylvania. We brought turkeys into there. And once we got them established, then we bought rocket nets, and we had our volunteers from our state chapter that sat on those bait sites and helped capture them and then moved them to other parts of the state. And a really cool story. As I mentioned, there were no turkeys in Delaware when I started the Federation. When they finally got them established, what was really cool, they came to us, Delaware Game and Fish, and asked us to help them develop their seasons and bag limits, which we did. And we took what we saw were good things that were done in other states and recommended them to the agency. And then they were so thankful for the contributors of other states. They said that their limited draw, the first couple of years, they would have 10% of those permits allocated for non-residents. Well, you can imagine the first year, nobody was really wanting to go to Delaware turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm.
But I put in and I got drawn. And I was so fortunate in that I got to kill the first turkey of modern times in the state of Delaware, in a place where they'd been gone for over 100 years. So I got to see, a state that went from 0 to a huntable population, take the first turkey. And then that evening, I shared that. I took and filleted that thing out. We had fried turkey and we toasted a wild turkey bourbon with all the game and fish guys, our volunteers, and what a memorable success story that was. Just proud to have been part of it.
That's awesome. I love these stories.
Circle.
That is full circle. That's so awesome, man. I love it.
Just whisper to the bird, I brought you here. And then fry him up. Unreal. Well, so why don't we get to our question of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. The question of the day is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.
Hi, I'm Rocky Moody from Brookville, Ohio. I have a question for opening day here in Ohio. I'm going to be setting close to the roost and wanted to know, should I use decoys? Public land? Thanks.
Public land sounds like a question.
Well, that's kind of the caveat to it, right? Like,
it's a different ballgame.
Like I would have said, yes, use a decoy. And then he said it was public land. Rob, what are your thoughts here?
Well, first of all, I don't think it makes any difference whether it's public or private land, whether you're using decoys or not. I think when you use them properly set up, properly, fine. It depends how close to the roost this guy really wants to get. I look back in my early days, and I'm sure Mark and Terry the same way, before decoys even became popular. We didn't even use them. We allowed the call to bring that turkey to help him glide right into our lap. And so I would ask the question, first of all, do you really need them? I think so many people use decoys as a crutch, and many times you don't need them. Sometimes those turkeys don't even want to see them, as I'm sure you've experienced.
Yeah.
So don't think that just using decoys is going to ensure your success. I would probably approach it, even though since it is public land, I would probably get in there, within maybe 100 yards of that bird if you can, and then just simply tree call to him. Forget the decoys, and you can have them with you, because if you happen to get cut off by a hen, you may want to then reposition and try that turkey or another one, maybe using your decoys. But, think about your positioning more importantly than the decoys themselves.
I kind of feel the same way about decoys as I do my tree stand and deer hunting. A lot of times I feel like it's kind of become a comfort blanket or a crutch. And if I hunted less with decoys and focused more on becoming a better caller, I'd become a better turkey hunter, and maybe trying to take a deer on the ground would make me a better deer hunter, as opposed to always having to climb up into a tree. But it's not comfortable. It's not, it takes more time and skill. Well,
Rob mentioned something in the previous podcast about the constraints on people's time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you a lot of times you're wanting the beauty of our industry and the industry side of hunting is that you've all these cool new products have come out, and they're not just gimmicks. I mean, a lot of them really are helpful tools in being able to be more successful. Mm-hmm. And so, you got guys like Rob and Mark and Terry and the Cuz Stricklands, the Ray Eyes, that they are accomplished hunters in every way, and they probably don't need that crutch. And then there's guys like you and I that
not so much,
just on the other end of that spectrum, right. And we'll take every little doodad that we can get to try to help, get an edge.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think, and Rob's is, I think if you would commit yourself not to doing that, you might surprise yourself and actually learn a lot more.
Sure.
I think you will. We've lost a lot of woodsmanship out there, and we've had great innovations in products, and I certainly don't mean to downplay decoys at all. I don't mean to downplay the fact that, some people want to use a pop-up blind. But we've certainly made it a lot easier, and that's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But one thing that has happened is that I think that we've lost the encouragement of woodsmanship, of learning how to hunt more than just sitting in that pop-up blind with a decoy at a measured distance in a food plot. That's one that it doesn't take a whole lot of woodsmanship to do. And again, I think there's fun that it's fine. I love to take kids out that way, first time hunters. But there's another thrill to going out there and trying to go one-on-one with that turkey, using your woodsmanship, understanding positioning and patience and all the elements that go into having a successful hunt.
It definitely takes it to a much different place.
Yeah.
And the intensity of it is much different. Not being able to move an inch, without fear of a hen that's next to you catching you or ruining the hunt, or a doe, or whatever the case may be. So I definitely agree with you. We got an email through our website, maybe a month or so ago. A guy was pretty upset with us because one of our shows over on the Pursuit channel, the Natural Born, one of the turkey hunts was showing, decoys in use, and he really kind of jumped our butts about it. And I always reply, and try to be very respectful and just say, thank you for the email and can't disagree with your comment, but they tend to booger turkeys as much as they tend to help you bring them in.
100%,
it's not 100%. And boy, he come back and he just jumped me like, oh, you can't tell me that. They're all, you have no woodsmanship. And, at that point I quit replying because I was in a no-win battle. But you're right. Like, just because you're using them doesn't mean that they always want to come into them. Whether it's using a full strut decoy might scare them off, or you just never know.
My buddy shared video with me from his hunt this past weekend. He was hunting a horse ranch, and his decoy brought in a walker. And so this horse is stomping around his decoy and sniffing it, and it just completely ruined the hunt. So they're not always helpful.
Yeah. So,
but you mentioned the difference between public land and private land, and when I think of public land and using decoys, I've heard stories and friends that have had kind of spooky situations.
Safety.
Having, like, one of my buddies had his hen decoy shot while he was sitting near it, and that can happen on private land also, but it's probably a little less likely that'll happen. And what do you think about in terms of the safety aspect, Rob?
Well, we did a lot of work on that. I'd created the Turkey Hunter Safety Task Force, and believe it or not, more incidents, turkey hunting accidents, occur on private land than they do on public land.
Wow.
I know it would be surprising to you, but all the statistics show that. And, so many times on private land, two guys hunting together, they would say, certainly we're here by ourselves. And they'd say, this accident, an accident couldn't happen to me. And there are so many incidents actually where a buddy shoots a buddy. And fortunately, we've reduced turkey hunting accidents, or as the hunter ed instructors want to say, incidents, to a much lower level than what they were 30 years ago. So our track record has certainly improved, I think, through education and what have you. But believe it or not, the age group of the people that committed the crime or made the errant shot, their average age was 45 plus and had over 15 years turkey hunting experience. They were not beginning hunters. And there's a whole lot of psychology that goes into this. I could go on, I could do an entire show just on that alone. And I think that, don't feel that just because you're on private land that you're going to be safe.
Yeah, it's
a good takeaway.
It's the same thing in a lot of, like, motorcycle riding, or guys that have been doing it for a long time kind of forget the level of respect and reverence they need to have for the tools at play, and can get a little lazy sometimes. And I could see that being the case.
I know one illustration that I'll share with you. You say, okay, how can this happen to an experienced hunter? All right, let's take, for example, you're driving down the interstate. And you look down the interstate and you see along the side of the road, you see what you think is a dead skunk. It's a dead skunk. You've seen dead skunks on this stretch of highway before. You've smelled them. You used to trap up there in the hill and you caught them in your fox sets. And you're getting closer and you can see the white tip in the tail and the little bit of white on its head. And you're saying, man, look at that skunk. You get up there to it and it's a blown out white wall tire. And somebody that's never seen a skunk can't connect the dots like somebody that has. And if you put yourself in this hunting scenario, the more dots you connect, the more convinced you become that what you're looking at is actually a turkey. And, you're in a place, let's just say you're in the woods, you're in a scenario. You say, okay, I'm here because I've heard turkeys before. You connect the next dot. You've heard a turkey, so you know that it's there. You connect the next dot. You heard it fly down. You keep connecting dots. And the more dots you connect, the more convinced you become. And so now you are in a situation where, okay, I hear that turkey walking. Sounds just like turkeys you've heard before coming through the leaves. So you connect another dot. And you say, okay, I hear that sound. I know for sure that that's that turkey dragging its wings. You connect another dot. And then you see a flash of red and then white. And you say, yep, right there is the head of that turkey. I'm going to just hold it right on there. And here it is, it's your buddy that was coming in to your call. And he just pulled out a pack of Marlboro cigarettes, and he was pulling one of those cigarettes out by his mouth. And what you were convinced was that turkey's head was actually that pack of cigarettes that guy that your buddy had up there next to his head. And you squeeze the trigger. Sounds impossible to happen. I've read so many reports, and the one I just described to you was a good friend of mine. He was president of the Pennsylvania State Chapter of the NWTF, and he was killed doing that very thing.
Wow.
On private land.
Pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, it is. I think you just always got to convince yourself, that you can make a mistake. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to always make sure of what that target is. And don't become confused. Don't connect so many dots that you lose sight of what your target really should be.
It's a great point. And that's the kind of story that will end up in the news. And continues to create a narrative in people's mind, a false narrative about hunters and hunting.
Hunter safety.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
We've got an amazing track record. We've improved it so much over the years. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, we appreciate you sharing the story with us, certainly.
Yeah. Rob has been very gracious with his time. We want to make sure we get to the wildlife word. Wildlife word is not brought to you by anyone except for me.
Yeah, that's why it's so crazy.
And it's timely. The wildlife word it's actually a term, pecking order. Pecking order is a hierarchy of status seen among members of a group of animals.
Like the pecking order we have here, it's Mark and Terry, and then the rest of us.
Yep. Everybody else. Or like my daughter's little crew that she runs with her little 7-year-old friends, and they definitely have a pecking order set up, and so do turkeys. And
yeah, so does just about everything.
That's right. It's a real thing. Well, Rob, we can't thank you enough for spending the time. You've been extremely gracious with us, and my goodness, the stories. It's been a real pleasure for us.
You could pretty much bet on the fact that we're going to reach back out to you and have you back on so that we could steal more of your time.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys. Good luck to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Good luck. Safe hunting. And we'll see you hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for answering the call.
All right.
Will do.
Bye-bye, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Cool conversation.
Yeah, I think that may have been two of my favorite podcasts. I mean, we've done over 100 of these. That was probably two of my more favorite podcasts we've done.
Completely. Yeah. And the fact that he knows Shotgun Red.
I don't know.
Really?
Well, as soon as you started, I never had TNN. As soon as you started getting into it, you're 40, I'm 38, but you're actually like a 50-year-old 40. Mm-hmm. And
I love Hee Haw.
Yeah, you're really into old stuff.
You're really into. Tell me about Tim. What's Tim like? He's really into old stuff.
So as soon as you start geeking out, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense.
Well, I didn't go down the Ernest Borgnine rabbit hole. I wanted to.
As soon as he said his name, you're like, oh.
He was on Airwolf. Okay. Yeah, I need to have Rob back on.
Well, that was good. Rob, Dad and Mark have they revere Rob in so many ways, and to hear him speak. Have you ever had a chance to hear him speak
no.
publicly?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty special. He's got a real gift, and he would never state it this way, but those 30 years he spent at the NWTF, I mean, he is responsible for, I think, for a lot of the modern day hunting that we get to enjoy from the conservation side, from the television side. You heard him tell the story about kind of breaking through the glass there. He's a special individual, and we're lucky to have had him kind of in the ranks and still in the ranks of conservation minded organizations and doing the kind of work that he's doing.
Yeah, he's not done. He doesn't seem like he's slowing down.
No,
soon.
No, he's hunted. I mean, this was off air when he was talking about it, but it was exhausting listening to where all he's gone. We talk about Mark's turkey tour. Rob's turkey tour puts Mark's to shame. Mark's like a rookie, rookie ball.
Yeah, he's been to Mexico and just all over the place.
Yeah, so he's a special guy. We're lucky that we got to have him on.
Fortunate to have him.
Yeah. So
all right,
that was awesome.
It was. We have an awesome show. More people should listen to it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The cool part about the podcast, we're over 100 episodes in. We're just now hitting our stride. Like we're we have new things that are coming down the pipeline that we're gonna showcase here in the coming months. Hopefully, new set design. We got a new title sponsor. It's really exciting. We're gonna hopefully have a new logo redesign. We're really kind of a relaunch, a rebrand of the podcast itself. And this will be, I think, our third year doing it, and we're kind of finally to the point where I feel like we know what we're doing to an extent, and hopefully we can start really taking the show to new levels.
Yeah, and if folks have things that they want to see, if there are certain features that they want or that they want to see more of or less of in the show, they can let us know via DeerCast or social media.
Maybe they want a whole show about wildlife words.
Why do you say that so smarmily?
Is that a word? Is that a wildlife word?
It's now an adverb.
I love the segment because it's so different, it brings comedy to the show. That's why I like it.
I had via ignorance.
I had no idea in the last podcast we did that it was going to be a word about sexual orientation,
sexual dimorphism.
And we had just talked about how we were going to try to stay out of the gutter.
Bad timing.
And then you're like, wildlife word is sexual. I'm like, never mind.
So much of the biological world is about passing on genetic information. That's
sure, Tim.
90% of what the biological world is about. And so it's just kind of by nature what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
So you got a long, I'm not going to say anything.
All right. Let's get to the housekeeping. We got to end the show here. We got a few things to talk about. We got a farm giveaway going on DeerCast.
We do.
If you haven't entered, I'll be honest, you got a pretty good shot right now winning the monthly prizes. I mean, there's a lot of people that are entered, but it's not like you're talking lottery type proportions. So you should definitely check it out. It's over in DeerCast. If you don't have the app, it's a revolutionary deer movement predictor called DeerCast. It's free in the App Store. We got a bunch of cool changes coming down the line here for version 2 of it that will launch this summer, hopefully here in June. Yeah. And of course, as always,
Tim Chelsvik.
You can check.
We've got the PSE summer shootout that's in effect right now.
That's right. I digress. Yeah. Started May 1st, and this is a pretty cool deal going on. So there's a place called SOE Hunts. Mike Stroff owns it, operates it down in Texas. He's got two facilities, but the one that we're going to be giving away trophy hunt to is down in South Texas. It's where John Odell's killed a bunch of his big deer. Yep. And we're just giving away a hunt. We're teaming up with PSE, and all you got to do is go to your local dealer, just test drive a PSE. You don't even have to buy it. Right. You have to test drive it. I believe you have to go over to PSEsummershootout.com and enter, but it's a pretty cool deal, and you don't even have to buy the product, but we do want you to try it out because, I think PSE has come a long way since kind of the bow that I think a lot of people used to shoot back in the 80s and the 90s. You know, we've been with them since probably 07-ish. And the bows these days are unbelievable. The technology they have behind them and the engineering that they have behind them really does set them apart in a lot of ways. But, you know, Matthews and Hoyt, and there's a lot of great bows out there.
No doubt.
And it's tough to just get people to try. It's kind of like that old conversation about, oh, my dad drove a Chevy and his dad drove a Chevy and I drive a Chevy. And, you know, and I understand that. I understand that argument. But what we're trying to do is just educate. And like I said, you're not even have to just give it a try, put it in your hand, see what you think about it. And you have a chance to win a hunt down at SOE Hunts in South Texas this fall. This deal's going from May 1st to June 30th. So you got to enter.
Got a couple months to
try it out.
Get in. And it's good to support your local archery shop.
Yeah.
Make sure you do that.
Absolutely. So just want to kind of get those kind of housekeeping items out there before we depart.
Yeah, absolutely. And this month is the Morrell Targets giveaway in DeerCast for the 30-year anniversary. So if your backyard shooting range needs an upgrade, they're giving away a full lineup of their targets. So definitely make sure that if you're not already entered, because you just need to enter once and then you're good for all subsequent prizes.
Basically, we're giving away, literally, think about this. We're giving away all the gear you need through the farm giveaway.
Yep.
We're giving away a farm.
Yep.
And then with this PSE summer shootout, we're giving away a hunt. So we're going full circle. It's our 30th anniversary this year as Drury Outdoors. And
the only additional thing we could do is pull the bow back for you.
Yeah, come on, guys. You just got to really go participate. That's all we need is some participation.
It is really cool though to be able to give away so much stuff, and thanks to our great partners that are willing to get on board and help out. So we appreciate that. We appreciate folks listening, and that's just kind of the heart of what we do.
All right, let's wrap it up and put a nail in this coffin.
I'll stop talking right now.
Schmeow. Right, meow. Right, meow. All right, until next time, we appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Peace out. We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by OnX Hunt, the nation's #1 GPS hunting app.